So today we're answering your questions on our family's relocation to Orlando, Florida. Here's everything you wanted to know about our move.
In this video we'll be answering your questions, our plans for when we get to the US, flying our fur babies, and things about home here in the UK.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to our videos, we are the Hyde family.
If you've watched and you've been here before, thank you very much for supporting us. It's been great chatting with everybody in the comments and on the social media channels that we're out on at the moment, Instagram and Facebook. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please click the subscribe button.
We're back for part 2 of our Q&A, picking up where we left off yesterday with your questions on our move to Orlando.
Thank you to everybody that's commented with their questions or sent us messages on social media. And I guess now it's time to answer your questions. Okay, so moving on from work and jobs, getting more into the when we're in America and what locations and what areas are we looking at. We did do a vlog last week, which we kind of touched on that in a lot more detail and how we came to look at locations, choose locations and things. But, you know, briefly to answer that question, we're looking at Central Florida and more in that suburban Greater Orlando area. You know, we previously identified sort of 7 areas that we felt would fit what our family's looking for there. 3 of those fall in Orange County, which are Lake Nona, Winter Garden and Windermere. Celebration in Osceola County. We've got Claremont in Lake County, Oviedo in Seminole. Yeah, I think that's how you say it. And Lake Alfred.
I'm saying yes, I think so.
Polk County.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like the 7 locations that we thought would fit what we were looking for. We kind of do have a favourite from the paperwork exercise, if you like.
Is it Claremont? For salt check.
Don't mention it again.
Salt check.
Catherine, shots.
I'm going to get that in at least twice before we finish this video. I forgot about it. I haven't mentioned salt check. I haven't mentioned salt check yet.
But yeah, our kind of like paperwork favourite is the Winter Garden Windermere area.
Yeah, it's not just sticking a pin on a map and saying, "Oh, that looks pretty."
No.
It's based on all of the research that we've done.
Which is why I would say if you're interested in knowing a little bit more about that, then really do check out the location vlog because it'll get a bit more into that.
And we're obviously we're over in April on vacation, so we're going to try and spend a bit of time doing a bit more research into those areas and
go for a drive around and stuff and see whether it lives up to the hype.
Have you researched the schools and the process for registering? And will you be there for the start of the new school year in August? Probably not.
No.
I don't think we'll be actually moving until mid to late July at the earliest.
Yeah.
There's a number of factors that control that, which are out of our control. That's what we're aiming for. So I don't think it's going to be realistic for us to be able to get them in for then. It's very likely to be after that anyway. So that's just something we need to think about when we do it.
So yeah, we're unlikely to be there, but to say that the schooling bit was one of the primary focuses.
It's probably the most important factor in terms of
when we were looking at different areas. So I have contacted one of the schools in that area just to get a better understanding of like what you have to do for registering, you know, kids to get into school out there. And they've kindly sent me over their registration pack just so I can, you know, get a bit of visibility around what we need to do.
But basically catchment is the key.
Yeah, one of the key things is school zoning. So you do have to live within the zone for a school. And so you have to be able to prove that you're living in that zone for a school.
Yeah.
So
somebody did say, I think it was one of the comments on YouTube, somebody commented on YouTube that said that just make sure you're well within the zone, because they do rezone sometimes.
Yes.
So if you're living right on the edge of, you could end up falling out of it at some point.
But there will be things that we need to take over from here, as I'm sure you would expect. You know, the school are going to want that we'd be taking them to would want to see things like, you know, their academic history. Where are they at? How are they performing in those?
It's a good job they're not for mine.
I mean, we've got Jacob to consider with his autism, so anything that we've got tied up with these, you know, SEND stuff, yeah. So his individual learning plans and that kind of thing that we may need to transfer over. And they actually have some criteria around knowing what immunisations they've had. And they have to have a physical examination to be able, we can try to get as much information as we can on their academic history, the learning plans, etc., etc., etc. before we go. But we need to understand what they need that to look like to make sure what we send them from here meets their criteria.
It's another factor for us trying to get them in August. I mean, if we don't physically get there until the end of July, which, you know, is what we're aiming for, if the immunisations and the physicals they have to have is a requirement, it might be that we can't get them done fast enough.
Yeah, and then the other issue that we're going to have is that when we first fly out there, we're unlikely to have secured our rental before, or the place that we're going to be living in when we first get there. So we're going to have to go to somewhere short-term rental for a period of time before we can find where we're going and then go there. So there may be like also a window of time between that transition that we're not in the school zone, and depending on whether they will allow us to enrol them when we're not living in the zone. Lots to do on that. So, but schools, obviously, yes, very much considered them. Got an understanding for the registration process.
Yeah. Unlikely they're going to be starting in August.
Unlikely going to be for August, yeah.
It might be a few months that they have to take out, but
we also want to make sure that they transition well as well.
Yeah.
But obviously their well-being is going to be core of everything.
The mainstay of everything. So it's good transition there from you looking at the houses and everything else, because one of the next question we was asked was, do you plan to rent or buy? Now, we've sat on the fence a little bit, probably even up until yesterday.
I'm still on the fence. Because of the area that we're looking at, there's no short-term rentals available. So short-term rental isn't going to be an option. If we're going into renting, we're in it for at least 12 months, potentially up to 18 months, depending on the house that we end up with and the requirements of the person.
I think typically the 12 months minimum.
Yeah. We're obviously going to have to potentially rent a short-term Airbnb, as we said a little while, as I said before, to tide us over until we can get ourselves into a rental. But I can't lie, I keep getting like FOMO over houses.
Over some of the houses. I'm just going to delete Zillow.
Yeah.
And Redfin and...
Because obviously you need to track what pricing is like, and when you're looking at an area, you need to know how much things cost as to whether it's even an affordable area. And then when you start tracking houses and then you get one that you like, and then what appears to be your favourite house builder all of a sudden starts building houses.
Yeah. So look,
you start dreaming.
We've had this conversation many times, and the fact of the matter is that it's not about a case of affordability. It's a case of the fact that we want to make sure it's been the right area and the right thing for us to do, because we've never lived anywhere outside of the little bubble of where we live now. So it could be somewhere that we just don't want to be.
No.
It might not work for us. We're fully accepting the fact that we could get 12 months down the line and it might not be
where we want to
be. That's not necessarily saying we don't want to live in America. It might just be that we don't want to live in Florida. We don't want to live in Orlando. I highly doubt it, but you never know. There's lots of factors.
Yeah.
So it's more about not tying ourselves into an asset like a property that you've then got to spend weeks, months trying to then push on to somebody else. Especially with the way the housing market there is at the moment, with its not necessarily volatility, but it's taking the homes are on the market for a long time before it gets moved.
Yeah.
Or can be.
I think it's that head over heart thing that I think there's the battle.
Yeah, on the practical one. On not practical, on the sensible one. Until it comes to jet skis.
Exactly.
Okay.
which kind of ties into this another question that we had about the fact that we'd mentioned about being able to get a mortgage as UK expats going out there, and somebody asked a question about whether that was on new construction or whether it was on a resale. And from what we understand from the conversation that we had with the mortgage broker that we spoke to, it could be on either.
So we've been told we can get a mortgage. We've been told that we can get a mortgage with a 30% down payment on a conventional mortgage type. We can get one with a 20% down payment on FHA, but there's limitations on the FHA, meaning they will
which
only
is a federally backed mortgage
it's
loan.
a federal housing association, or federal housing something or other. With the builders for new builds, they put a lot of incentives down. So it might be that you get money towards your closing costs. It might be that you get an interest rate drive down for the first 12 months, where they pay an amount of money towards your monthly payment for the first 12 months, which seemingly drops your interest rate. There's lots of factors, and then some of the new builders have got their own mortgage options.
Yeah, almost like they've got their own finance company to finance, or they've got a deal with someone. But
so there's loads of factors.
Yeah, there's loads of factors, and I mean, I'm not going to say we'll switch our mind and buy, because I think that's unlikely. But it's not to say that we won't go out there when we go out in April and try to get a more concrete understanding of what would be achievable for us if we did buy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not to say that we're going to move away from renting.
Yeah.
I think it would be silly while we're out there in April not to go and find out.
Yeah, I mean, we've already looked around some new builds, but we've never talked to anybody about the financial side. No. Not
apart from this one,
recently.
one broker that we spoke to. So it's not going to hurt to get a little bit more understanding about it, but I don't think we're going to buy when we first.
No, and 12 months to fly around.
Yeah. So whilst we've been talking about April, on to that upcoming visit.
I like this question.
Yeah.
I know exactly who's asked this question.
Yes. My question was, when are you going to be in Florida so we can go for coffee? And the answer to that is we're going to be there in April. But sadly, the person that asked this question is going to be here in the UK in April. So we're still not going to be able to meet for coffee.
Maybe we can have an e-coffee.
Yeah.
Maybe do it on video.
But as you know, Mark had said earlier, at the moment, in terms of being there for good, still not 100% sure. Anticipating July, August, September.
Yeah, I always like to err on the side of positivity. I'm a very positive person. I'm a very optimistic person. No, I used to be. I'm more pessimistic now. But there's still a good chance it could be a little bit earlier. But I think it won't be the visa that drives that.
It'll be things like the
house sale and everything else that then drives that. So I think just with everything that ties in, July, August is a realistic time frame.
And then we had another question around where we're staying. We mentioned this in our Getting to Know Us, I'm sure we did, vlog. But we own DVC. So we fully intend on maximising the use of our DVC.
We certainly will. And
are planning on staying at Disney's Saratoga Springs. We've never stayed there before, so we're looking forward to doing that.
Quite looking forward to the fact that it's close to Disney Springs.
Yeah.
Because I can't tell you how many times we've been to Disney Springs and we've looked across the water.
And gone, yeah.
And gone, that looks like a nice place. It'd be nice to stay there. So we are.
Yeah. So that's that one. So the next round of questions we got asked was around our little fur babies, Roxy and Belle, our 2 miniature Dachshunds. And the first question was, how are we planning on getting them to America?
They're swimming.
Now, for anybody that knows miniature Dachshunds, you know that they are an interesting breed.
That's probably a nice way to put it.
They are generally reactive, highly strung, suffer with separation anxiety, and so putting them in the hold is not really an option.
No, we know that there's hundreds, if not thousands, of people that put the dogs in the hold and they travel them all over the world and don't have any problems.
No.
We've got 2 miniature Dachshunds and they spend their entire lives, and have spent their entire lives together.
And with us.
And with us.
Seeing as I've pretty much worked from home. They've been around one of us, both of us, all of us, pretty much their entire lives.
Yeah, and they're not completely.
Oh yeah, we can pop out for a few hours, and
we can go out for 5 or 6 hours when we
Yeah.
go, and we come back and they're absolutely fine. So they're not like completely broken if we leave, but
it's more about the fact that we're going to have to put them in a box, hand them over to some people that they don't know, that we don't know, and they're going to be put in we're just not. Yeah, it just doesn't sit right with us, to be honest.
So there is because they're so small, and because they are under 8 kilos with a carrier, there is certain carriers that allow you to carry, so certain airlines that allow you to fly with dogs that small in the cabin.
Yes, but you can't do that directly from the UK.
No. So we started by looking at, okay, where can you do that from in Europe?
Yeah.
How do we get there? And then where can we fly to in the US? Now, you would think it was reasonably straightforward to get them to Europe because we've got a multitude of ways of getting across to, Calais, France, or wherever it is you want to go to. You've got the ferry, you've got the Eurostar, the Eurotunnel, Eurostar and Eurotunnel. You can either drive or you can train. You've got other planes that you can get on from here and fly over there. And none of them are easy to be able to get dogs there. It is doable, but a lot of it, certainly with the driving side of trying to get to Folkestone, trying to get to Portsmouth, getting on the ferry and going over, is the dogs have to stay in the car.
Yeah.
Now, when we transition, the likelihood is we won't have a car.
No.
So we were sort of planning to try and get dropped off one side.
On a ferry,
get off the other side, and then get some sort of taxi or whatever the other end to get us to the airports where we need to get to.
And you can't do that.
You can't do that.
No.
You can't walk on to any of those options with dogs. So that's not an option.
No.
You can fly, but it gets very messy because the requirements for travelling to Europe with a dog are different to what the requirements are to fly into the US. But then you've also got the anxiety and they're going to get on a plane in a bag, shoved under a seat on one flight. Then it's not necessarily saying that the flights are all going to happen at the same time.
No.
So then you might have a day or an overnight stay in Paris or wherever it is you've got to fly from. Then you've got to go back through another airport, through all the security and everything else that comes with it. So as you can imagine, it's a bit of I wouldn't want to do it. So I'm pretty sure these two little puppies don't want to do it either.
No. So we're left with the doggy charters.
Yeah, so before we go any further, they're not as expensive as you'd think. Now, I did some research into travelling the dogs in cages in the hold. Like I say, lots of people do it. Lots of people have no issues. So, it
works.
The doggy-friendly private charters that have been specifically set up for travelling pets to and from not just the States, various locations around the world, but it was predominantly from the US to the UK or Europe or whatever it was going. So there's Bark Air and there's Canine Jets.
Yeah.
Both very similar. They both pretty much fly to and from the same places, more or less. Cost-wise, very similar as well.
Yeah.
Because our dogs are so small, we are able to take, on both platforms, we're able to take both dogs with one human.
Yeah.
That's how they describe it on the website. It's quite funny. So one human can take both dogs. We're essentially going to do that. That's what we're planning to do. As it stands at the moment, if we could make it happen in June, unlikely, but if we could make it happen in June, we can actually fly from London. So it's either Farnborough or Luton, I believe. And we can fly direct to Miami.
Which would be perfect.
Perfect, because then it's a 3.5 hour drive up to Orlando.
Yeah.
Happy days. Don't think we're going to get it done by June.
No.
So,
just to give you an indication on price of that flight, that would be $11,000.
Yes.
For one human
and 2 dogs.
2 dogs.
Now, that is on a private charter, so you're only on a plane with another 8 people. So it's a private jet. If you was to just putting them in the cages and shipping them, we had quotes of about £3,500 per dog. So it doesn't actually, it's still expensive, but it doesn't say, it's not that bad when you start turning, putting it in that context. But we don't think the Miami one's going to be something we can do.
No.
So the alternative one, which we've watched, we've obviously done some research, familiar with other people that have done it. We've watched another YouTuber that's done it recently, which is Hair Life. They've transported their dogs recently.
Yeah.
The option that we're going to we're probably very likely going to have to use is the one that goes from London to New York.
Yeah.
So it goes into New Jersey, and then I'll have to drive from New Jersey down to Florida. It's about a 16-hour drive, I think. Now it sounds quite daunting. However, there is a dog log. Somebody from New York does this trip quite frequently. They drive from New York to Miami 5 to 6 times a year, and they've very, very nicely documented the entire process. Documented what they do with the dogs, what sort of things they take to sort of give them the best comfort, the places they stop at, and because they do it so many times, they stop at different places all the time, which dog-friendly hotels they stop at, which route they take. Sometimes they'll veer off I think it's the I-95 is pretty much the highway that takes you all the way down the East Coast, where they come off to doing the scenic routes and stuff like that. So it's pretty conclusive, and we'll link it somewhere. So it should be, touch wood, reasonably painless being able to follow that and being able to do the charter with the dogs. Now the charter for flying from London to New York is slightly cheaper. It's about, I think the most expensive one was about $9,000, or I think it's like $8,900.
Yeah.
So slightly cheaper again. But that obviously includes also me.
Human.
So there's a human and 2 dogs in that, so it's actually not that bad. So that's how we're getting them. They are coming 100%. Worst case, they're going to get the little doggy paws out and they're going to swim, but they are coming.
The other question relating to the dogs that we had was about having spoken to the vets about acclimatising them, and I'll be honest, we haven't had that conversation yet. We had to go and take them for their annual boosters for vaccinations recently, and so we mentioned to the vets at the time about the fact that we were looking to do this relocation, and so what would we need to do, and they've given us the contact details for the people at the vets, because they have a couple of very dedicated vets that deal with their kind of international pets. International pets that travel the world.
Pet passports.
We're going to make contact with them to talk to them about what we need to do from a pet passport perspective, vaccinations. They're going to need rabies stuff doing, and that there's a certain time frame that has to be done with to make sure it's covered.
It has to be done at least 3 weeks before you travel.
So we need to make contact with them over the next few weeks, really, and get an understanding of the timeline of what we need to do for that. So at that point in time, we can talk to them about how we acclimatise dogs from the UK to Florida.
I don't know. You can't do it here.
I don't think you can't.
It's not like you can, because we don't have the weather.
No.
So it's not something I can believe, unless we buy a sauna.
Yeah, no, I don't think we're going to be able. Yeah, I think it's going to be more around the fact that obviously we need to be wary how long they spend outside in the heat.
Yeah.
And obviously inside in their conditioning is going to be their primary place, really, to start with. But it also need to ask them about helping with the flight and what we can and what methods we can use to try and help with calming them on the plane.
I've heard Jack Daniels works.
Well, that might be you, so you don't have to hear them. But so obviously we've got some conversations.
I don't know why I said Jack Daniels. I'm not really keen on Jack Daniels, but you don't know. Something alcoholic.
We'll talk to the vets shortly about that.
Yeah, so that brings very nicely on to the whole how we're transporting things. So about the house here in the UK. So somebody asked a question about, are you planning on taking your furniture, and have you had quotes for shipping? Yes and yes. There you go.
Simple answer.
I've had a lot. Yes, we are transporting most of our furniture. we are fully aware and fully expecting that it's going to take 3 to 6 months to get there, based on
other people's
what other people have done recently. We know we've factored in a budget for stuff that we're going to have to buy. I mean, obviously, there's some stuff here that we've got that won't work there anyway, so that's the sort of stuff we're going to have to replace regardless. And then we know that we're going to have to get some sort of temporary stuff, or we'll get stuff that will end up being guest bedroom type stuff that we can use in the meantime. Yeah, we are currently considering transporting some of the stuff we're going to need access to more quickly, using like a transport service. So I ship stuff all around the world with the companies that I deal with, so I don't think it's necessarily going to be that difficult for us to package some stuff up in a crate and ship that. You can ship stuff as like personal items. I think it's called Tour One or something like that. You send me do like export control and stuff like that. But we're going to ship some of the stuff that we're going to need access to more quickly. But otherwise the rest of it's going to be going in a container. We did get quotes. Now this was sort of middle of last year, so it may have changed quite a bit. But the quotes that we got, quote for door-to-door, room-to-room service, which is somebody comes to the house, they package everything up, they box everything, they put it all into safe packaging, so they bubble wrap and do whatever they need to do. All the sofas, they put protective packaging around them and so on and so forth. They then go and take them out of all the rooms, they put them into vans, they drive them to a warehouse, they then go on pallets or whatever it is they put them on, and then they get put into a container and then shipped. And then when it gets to the other end, it gets taken off. It then gets brought to your house, and again you can have it room to room, so they will literally put the furniture in whatever rooms you dictate. The quote that we were given middle of last year for that was £10,300.
That was for a full container.
That was for a full 40-foot container. Now, as we've kind of spent the last 9 months looking at what we're actually going to be taking, we don't think we're going to need a full container.
No, we might not need one.
I actually think we might get away with a half container. So it's only really like a few sofas and beds, and there's going to be boxes of various bits and pieces, but there's not going to be anything massive. There's none of the electrical items in terms of like TVs and stuff, because none of it's going to work. I'm kind of thinking we might be able to halve that potentially, but as it stands at the moment, a full container, £10,500. But then you also need to, we don't have to take out insurance, but given Katie's problems recently, it pays to have it.
Yeah.
So depending on the provider that you use, it's typically a percentage of the value of the goods. I think it's 3%, 3 to 5%, depending on who it is and who your insurance provider is. So it's 3 to 5% of the value of the goods. The reason we're doing that is, our furniture that we have here is good quality furniture. It wasn't cheap when we bought it. So for us to replace it, it's going to cost us a lot, and we're not going to get the money back that we paid for it if we sold it here and then bought it again. It sounds stupid, but it's going to be more cost effective to ship it.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings us on to the question of, have you sold your house yet? No. It's currently it's being prepared to be advertised for sale, which will happen in the next couple of weeks.
Which I'm currently in the process of doing the video diaries for, so
there'll be some videos that pop up either before or after this one that'll show you some of the things that Sam and I are doing to make the house look prettier. Probably more so you than me, because I've been working, but there's been some stuff going on. It's about to go up for sale, but we're obviously, we know that the process here takes forever to sell a house. So even though we're reasonably confident, the houses in our area sell quite quickly, but that makes absolutely no difference when it comes to solicitors and selling houses in the UK.
No, and if you've got a chain, the upward and downward chain and all of that jazz.
Yeah, now we don't have an upward chain, obviously, we're coming over there, so there's nothing after us, but that doesn't mean there might not be a 1, 2, 3 house chain below us.
Which is really frustrating, because on the consulate website for London, it specifically says to you, don't sell your house, don't buy expensive flights, don't do anything that you can't do, just in case, in the event that they decide to tell you no at your interview. But you only say you wait and they give you the approval, you only have 6 months from the point of getting your little stamp in your passport
Yep.
to enter the US. So if you're in a situation where you don't put your house on the market until then, and then the ridiculously protracted sale process here in the UK takes you past your 6 months, that's it. Green card.
Yeah. So you could be sitting there saying, well, why don't you just go over before the 6 months whilst your house is going through the process? Well, the problem with that is when you enter, you can't leave for a period of time.
Yes.
I don't know what that period is. I just know there is.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure that bit out. So the fact of the matter is that our thought process here is we get it ready for sale. We can kind of test the waters, see what interest there is. And if we get somebody interested, we can just make it very clear that we're doing this process and we wouldn't be in a position to exchange until we receive that. But obviously, if for whatever reason it all fell through, then we would be pulling the house off the market. So we'd be able to be quite upfront about it to some degree.
Yeah.
And so if you're still here, well done.
It was a Q&A and there's been lots of questions, which is great, thank you.
Which was very great, and I did think we were going to try and answer them quite succinctly, but that never quite pans out if you've watched any of our other vlogs.
It's never that, is it?
No.
Oh, next question.
Last question.
I like this one. What is the one item you will miss from the UK that friends and family can bring when they visit? We'll make mine last, because I currently don't actually have anything written down. But there is something I do like, and the problem is I just don't see how it's going to work.
Okay. So, for me, I've been thinking about this. What things can't we get? And there's not lots of massive things that I'm really going to be like, oh, yeah, I really, really want that I can think of right now, because they're readily available. And I think that's the struggle with this question, is until you're there and all of a sudden you've got a hankering for something that you just can't get your hands on, I don't think you're going to know. But what can't we get out there that I'd be like, oh, do I really fancy that? And I don't know. Swizzles Matlow. Is that how you say it? Is that what it's called? Yeah, the Swizzles Matlow sweets. Love hearts, refresher bars, drumsticks.
Kid sweets.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of like, that was my one thing that I thought of.
Yeah, do you know, it's a good point. I don't think I've ever seen any Swizzles stuff.
No. I mean, you can get Maltesers, you can get Snickers, you can get all of...
You can get Maltesers?
Yeah, you can get like those kinds of things, but you can't get like sweets like that. So that was my thought process. And when I asked the boys, Jacob is dairy milk. Now I know we can get dairy milk there, but he's unhappy with the size of the chocolate bars that you can get out in America. And the fact that they're not necessarily available everywhere. So he fully would like, the big, the big bars of dairy milk is on Jacob's list for...
How much does it?
No, that was Jacob. Finley, again, is Cadbury's again, isn't it? Cadbury's cream eggs.
See, I've got two really tough ones.
Cadbury's cream eggs. So, but the trouble with that is you can only really get them once a year anyway, so...
You just need to buy 52.
I was going to say,
So
the big packs of Cadbury's cream eggs, yeah, those. For Finn.
So I've got two.
Okay.
Right.
Here we go. Well, you're only supposed to think of one.
Yeah, but one I think is achievable. But
okay.
Again, it's only available certain times of the year.
Right.
And the other one I think is just going to be a tough ask.
Okay then.
So, maybe. So the one I like, and again, it's going to be Cadbury's related.
Oh, yeah.
A mini eggs. Cadbury's mini eggs.
Ooh, now, interestingly, I don't know whether they taste like mini eggs, but somebody went to Sam's Club. Katie went to Sam's Club in one of her shopping vlogs recently.
Yeah.
And they had Cadbury's mini eggs.
Katie.
Didn't look the same.
Do they taste like Cadbury's mini eggs?
I don't think she bought any.
Oh, God damn it. She's letting the team
I
down.
can't remember now. Katie, other than that, you need to go back to Sam's Club, get some mini eggs, and let us know. Do they taste the same?
Excellent, I like it. And then the other thing, it's two parts. I'm quite impartial to Greggs.
Oh, yes, you've got a problem with that.
All right. It's not the end of the world if I don't get it. I'll just cry myself to sleep at night. It's fine. Greg's. Now, I like steak bakes. Now, you can get frozen steak bakes, but I just don't think they're going to travel well.
No.
There's a very good chance they're going to be defrosted. And if they haven't defrosted on the plane, 100% by the time it takes you to get from the airport doors to the hire car that you're in, they will have... in fact... In the height of summer, cooked over there. That first bit when you walk out them doors, when the aircon disappears and the humidity smacks you in the face.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you could have a cooked steak bake by that point. So steak bakes, but also apple danishes.
Oh.
Notice I said plural. So anybody thinking about it, it needs to be more than one. Apple danishes. Other than that, I think I'm quite looking forward to embracing the different.
Yeah, I mean, Jacob's actually got a really long list. So not just one, it's just that Cadbury's just topped his list. He's after Warburton's medium sliced loaves. Loaves, in the plural.
I think it was 12. I think it was 62.
Mr. Kipling, cherry bakewell slices. But the slices, not cherry bakewells.
I like cherry bakewell cakes, so if you do get them, don't worry, I'll get them.
Cadbury's white chocolate fingers.
Why can you not get them over there?
No. I've seen somewhere that sells the milk chocolate ones, but not the white chocolate ones.
Le Cadbury's finger is.
Oh.
No, which is Peter Kay?
No.
I'm sure it's Peter Kay. Le Cadbury's finger is. When he goes to Spain.
I can't remember that. He said Jaffa cakes, but I can't remember whether you can get Jaffa cakes there or not.
I don't know.
I don't know. But so yeah, Jaffa cakes were on his list as well. Finley's other one as well was chili heatwave Doritos, because he's very disappointed that whilst you can get Doritos out there and you can get Cool Ranch and you can get cheese ones, they don't do the chili heatwave ones. So that was Finley's other second one.
Don't they?
We've never seen them when we've been there. So obviously you can see the boys have a very healthy lifestyle.
What, all three of us? But I'm calling out Greg's.
Steak bake, yeah.
Steak bakes. We're all very healthy, I'll let you know.
And then I've got a question actually for anybody out there. Obviously, we don't see much in the way of curries out there. Now I know there's curry houses out there, and Jacob, whilst we're on this April trip, apparently wants to go and test all the local curry houses to find the one that we're going to use.
Are we?
That's what he wants to do. But can you get the ingredients to make a curry? Not a jar. And I've seen you can get Sharwood's jars, but I don't tend to use the jars. I tend to make it. So can you get ground coriander, ground cumin, garam masala, turmeric, cardamom pods? Can you get all those kinds of things in the standard shops?
Well, the question is, if we can't, do you want to add them to the list of things you want?
Well, maybe, yeah. Well, it wouldn't be for me, it'd be for everybody else to get a curry.
No, they go add to your list. We've filled ours.
So if there's anybody out there, can you get those kinds of things in the supermarket?
Good question. We'll soon find out. Why don't we go and have a look? We're going in April. Let's go and have a look.
We can. This is true. We can go and have a look.
Challenge accepted.
Right then.
No,
We've waffled on for a very, very, very long time.
But that is, you'll be happy to know, the end of
That is
video.
the end.
The end of this video. So thank you to everybody that's asked us questions.
Yeah. And we hope we've answered them in a very long way.
Well, we've actually answered them
very thoroughly.
Very thorough. Obviously, if there's anything we've missed, apologies. It might just be that we haven't seen it as it's come across. But if there's anything we feel like we haven't missed, by all means, just message us and we'll answer them.
Answer messages and things.
From here on, our videos are going to be very much about what we are doing on a sort of weekly basis to sort of gear up for everything. So we'll give you updates on where the visa process is and where it's getting to. And
I suppose it'll be more like a weekly video diary type thing rather than these or sat here yakking at you for an hour.
I kind of want to use them as a paint in a timeline.
Yeah.
For you guys to understand what we've done, where we've done it, and where in this timeline that we've been able to achieve things.
Yeah, and then as and when something crops up, when we've got a bit more detail on something or we've firmed up something, we could maybe do something a little bit more like this. So, you know. But yeah, that's just the thought process, that we'll revert to more of like a weekly diary vlog going forward. And yeah, hopefully they'll be a lot shorter than what these things are. For you guys more than us.
So, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel and following along on our journey. And we hope that everything that we've done up to now, and including the stuff in this video, has helped you get some insight into potentially your own visa journey and what you may or may not be able to do. If you've enjoyed this video and any of the previous ones that you may or may not have watched yet, please go back and watch them. Give us a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel and you want to follow on our journey, please subscribe and hit the notification button so you get to be notified when these next videos come up. It really helps the channel. It helps other people like yourselves find people like us to get an understanding of, you know, this whole visa process, because we understand it's a nightmare. So yeah, if this is the first video that you're watching of ours, please check out our other vlogs on the other topics and the other video diaries that we've done. It may be very useful and very helpful for you. But other than that, it's ciao from me.
Bye for now.